the coordinate trail. Can you make it to the end? In this game, you will roll 2 dice and use these rolls to move you along the graph on your coordinate trail. But watch out, certain spaces can drastically change the route of your trail. Your goal is to make it to the end and see what type of traveler you are. You'll deal with mathematical ideas such as graphing coordinates, adding and subtracting positive integers, and evaluating if a sum is even or odd. The materials needed for this game are 2 players, a game board, the rule and tracker sheet, the event cards, 2 dice, and writing utensils. If your papers are laminated, you can use whiteboard markers, and if they're not, a regular pen or pencil will work. Have 2 partners gather together with 1 game board, 1 rule and tracker sheet, and 2 dice. You can share 1 writing utensil or each have your own. Here, we see Jeff and Stacy can both see the papers and are writing their names on the tracker sheet. They are using whiteboard markers since our pages are laminated. There is a key on the graph, but let's review what the special spaces on the graph mean. A supply card spot, which is the clothes, medicine, or wagon parts, which are all circled in red here, represent spaces where you will receive supply cards. So when you land on or your trail crosses any of these spaces, add the corresponding card to your tracker. You can use tally marks or write the physical number of how many you have. When you see a mountain space, circled here, it means that the temps are getting extreme since you're climbing the mountain, so you must use an extra clothes supply card, or lose 1 health from each team member if you do not have a card. To use your supply card, simply change the number of them that you have, or erase the tally mark. If you reach a rough trail spot, circled here, the same thing as the mountains, except you must use a wagon part supply card or lose 1 health from each team member if you do not have one. For the snake spaces, circled here, you must use the medicine supply card or lose 1 health from each team member if you do not have that card. The tree spots, which are circled here, are impassable. If you land on one or your trail crosses one, you must find a new way to add or subtract the numbers you rolled. Star spots on the map, circled here, that are check-in spots. You must have your trail cross at least one of these along your route. A risky river crossing, which are circled here, are spaces that do not have stepping stones on them. You must roll the dice and get an even sum to successfully cross. If you do not get the even sum, you must find a new way to move your trail. A safe river crossing are circled here and are spots of the river that have stepping stones. You may cross the river successfully if your trail crosses any of these points without having to roll the dice to get an even sum. There are also some important rolls that will trigger certain scenarios to happen. If you get a sum of 6, 7, or 8, you must grab an event card after creating your trail and follow what it says. If you roll doubles, you may add 1 bar of health to one teammate who has lost some. Let's watch a game play out with Jeff and Stacy. To start the game, Stacy rolled 2 6s. So, since it was the first move, her only option was to add 6 to both the X and the Y, making her first point at 6-6. Jeff rolled a 3 and a 3 next, and he chose to add 3 to the X and subtract 3 from the Y, making our next point at 9-3. Since this touched the box of the medicine, they have received a medicine supply card and have marked that on their tracker sheet. He also rolled a sum of 6, which means he needs to grab an event card. Since they had the medicine card, they were able to use that to save them from this event. They continued for the next few turns with just normal turns, so we'll speed that up a bit. This time, they did not have the extra clothes supply card, so they had to subtract 2 health from each member of their team. They did this by crossing out the health boxes. This roll led Stacy to land in the water. However, she passed the spare wagons part supply card, so she was able to add that to their tracker. She then had to roll to get an even sum to be able to use this trail, which she successfully did. Since the line on this trail still crossed through the water, they had to roll again to get an even sum to be able to use it, which once again they successfully completed. This time, they had the supply card they needed, so they were able to use that to save them from this event. At this point, they realized that they had not gone through a checkpoint yet, so they decided to switch which direction this section of the trail was heading. This event card didn't require a supply card, but instead had them go back and change the last trail they created. At the end of this section of the trail, they landed in the trail end section, showing that they have successfully completed the trail. They then counted out the amount of turns it took them to finish, and used that to decide their travel ranking. On this trip, Jeff and Stacy were experienced explorers. Now let's look at some other scenarios that may occur on the coordinate trail. This section of the trail touches the mountain range, which means they need the extra close supply card. Since they have this supply card, they will simply erase that tally mark. If you were to hit the rough trail or the snake icon on the graph, you would use the same process with the corresponding supply card. Here, when trying to roll an even sum to cross the river, they failed to get an even sum and got an odd sum instead. This means they must erase that trail and find a new way to add or subtract the numbers they originally rolled. Since they did not have the supply card to counteract this event card, they had to remove 2 bars of health from one team member. However, they each only had 1 bar of health left, meaning that one of them would no longer have any health after this card took place, which then results in them having to erase all of their trails and start from the beginning. I hope you were successful in completing the coordinate trail. I hope you enjoyed your time traveling and bring this game to your classroom as a way to introduce students to graphing points and moving along in the first quadrant. Thanks for watching!